Get down, maggot. Sergeant Burke slams Private Emma Walsh face first into the dirt, her blonde hair scattered across the training ground. 6 soldiers surrounding her, laughing, pointing, treating her like she doesn't belong. But what she does in the next 3 seconds changes everything. Burke applies a textbook rear naked choke, professional hold, military combat training, designed to immobilize any opponent in seconds. But here's what nobody expects. Emma doesn't struggle, doesn't panic, doesn't fight the hold like every other recruit. She waits. 2 seconds into the choke, Emma's body moves like liquid lightning. Hip rotation, shoulder drop, counter leverage that shouldn't be possible for a 90-day recruit. Burke's hold breaks instantly, but here's where it gets impossible. Emma doesn't just escape, she reverses the position. In one fluid motion, Burke finds himself face down in the dirt with Emma controlling his arm at an angle that could snap bone. Complete silence. 6 soldiers stop laughing, stop pointing, stop breathing. What the hell was that? Burke gasps from the ground. Emma releases him and stands. Sorry, Sergeant. Reflex. Wait until you see what happens next. Burke gets to his feet, brushing dirt from his uniform. 23 years military experience. Advanced combat instructor. He's never seen a recruit move like that. Walsh, where did you learn that technique? Learn what, Sergeant? But Burke isn't buying innocent confusion. That wasn't beginner's luck. That was advanced close-quarters combat, the kind taught to Special Operations Forces. That counter-grappling sequence. Where did you train? Basic training, Sergeant. Here's what you need to understand about that move. The technique Emma used requires years of muscle memory, thousands of repetitions. Training that transforms defensive instincts into offensive weapons. No 90-day recruit should know that counter. Walsh, demonstrate that escape again. Emma hesitates. For 3 months, she's hidden her abilities, played the role of inexperienced recruit, but some reflexes are impossible to suppress. Sergeant, I don't think I can repeat it. That's an order, Private. But what she reveals next will shock you. Burke applies the same choke hold. Emma allows him to establish position, then demonstrates the counter in slow motion. Hip placement, perfect, leverage angle, textbook, execution, flawless. Every soldier watching recognizes advanced training when they see it. Jesus Christ, Walsh, that's Navy SEAL level technique. Emma maintains her innocent expression. Beginner's luck, Sergeant. But Burke has questions that demand answers. Private Walsh, report to my office. Now, here's where the mystery deepens. In Burke's office, Emma sits at attention while the sergeant reviews her personnel file on his computer screen. According to your records, you're 19 years old, no prior military experience, civilian background in food service. Yes, Sergeant. Burke studies her face. Something doesn't match. The calm confidence, the tactical awareness, the way she carries herself like someone who's seen combat. Walsh, I'm going to ask you directly, have you received advanced combat training? No, Sergeant. But here's what Burke notices next. Emma's posture isn't that of a nervous recruit. She sits with the relaxed alertness of someone comfortable with interrogation. Someone trained to handle pressure. Private, I'm going to run your biometrics through the advanced database. Emma's expression doesn't change. Yes, Sergeant. This is where everything changes. Burke inputs Emma's fingerprints into the classified personnel system. The search runs through multiple military databases, Department of Defense records, Special Operations files. What appears on his screen makes him push back from his desk. Holy shit. Emma continues sitting at attention. Is there a problem, Sergeant? Burke reads the classified file twice, then looks at Emma with completely different eyes. Private Emma Walsh, age, 27, not 19, prior service, U.S. Navy, military occupational specialty, classified. Combat deployments, classified. Reason for discharge. He stops reading and stares at her. Medical retirement due to classified injuries. Here's what you need to understand about that file. Emma Walsh isn't a recruit. She's a veteran. Someone with 8 years of military experience who's been hiding her background for reasons the file doesn't explain. Ma'am, why are you here under false identity? For the first time, Emma's composure cracks slightly. It's complicated, Sergeant. Uncomplicated. But what she tells him next reveals the deeper truth. I needed to prove something to myself. Burke leans forward. Prove what? that I could still do this. The sergeant accesses more of Emma's classified record, combat performance evaluations, training scores, specialty qualifications that make his eyes widen. Ma'am, according to this file, you're qualified in advanced close quarters combat, urban warfare, maritime operations, and, he stops reading, advanced interrogation resistance. Emma nods slowly, among other things. But here's what the file doesn't explain. Ma'am, if you have these qualifications, why are you going through basic training again? Emma stands and removes her uniform shirt. Underneath, extensive scarring across her torso, surgical scars, shrapnel wounds, the kind of injuries that end military careers. Because 3 years ago, I wasn't sure I'd ever be physically capable of military service again. Burke studies the scars. What happened? Here's where the real story begins. I'd explosion, Afghanistan. My entire team was evacuated except for me. I spent 14 months in military hospitals. The doctor said I'd never pass a physical fitness test again. The sergeant looks at Emma's current physical condition. Peak fitness. Combat ready. Obviously, they were wrong. They were right. 3 years ago, I couldn't walk without assistance. But what she explains next reveals her true purpose. I've spent the last 3 years rebuilding myself. Physical therapy, combat conditioning, psychological rehabilitation, not because the military required it. Then why? Because I needed to know if Emma Walsh still existed. Burke accesses the final section of her classified file. What he reads changes everything. Ma'am, your discharge wasn't just medical. You received the Navy Cross. Emma's jaw tightens. For getting my team killed, for single-handedly eliminating 17 enemy combatants while wounded and coordinating medical evacuation under heavy fire. But here's what you need to understand about survivor's guilt. Emma doesn't see herself as a hero. She sees herself as the team leader who made tactical decisions that cost lives. The soldier who survived when others didn't. Sergeant, the Navy Cross doesn't bring back dead teammates. Burke closes the classified file. Number. But it represents the lives you saved. Here's where Emma's real mission becomes clear. Ma'am, why are you really here? Emma puts her uniform shirt back on. I need to know if I can train the next generation without getting them killed. Train them? Special operations candidates. The Navy wants me to develop advanced combat curriculum. Burke's understanding shifts completely. You're here to evaluate our training program. I'm here to see if basic training adequately prepares soldiers for advanced military occupations. But what she reveals next changes the entire conversation. Sergeant, in the past 3 months, I've identified 47 deficiencies in your combat training program. Burke's defensive posture changes to professional interest. What kind of deficiencies? Emma pulls out a tablet, shows him detailed analysis, training gaps, tactical weaknesses, areas where current instruction fails to prepare soldiers for real combat. Your close quarters combat training is 15 years outdated. Your tactical awareness instruction doesn't account for modern battlefield conditions. Your stress inoculation protocols don't adequately prepare recruits for actual combat psychology. The sergeant reviews her analysis. These are detailed evaluations, 3 months of observation from someone who's used these skills in actual combat. But here's what makes this more than just evaluation. Ma'am, what do you recommend? Emma switches to a different section of her tablet. Complete revision of hand-to-hand combat instruction. Integration of modern battlefield tactics, psychological preparation that reflects actual combat stress. That's a massive undertaking. It's also the difference between soldiers coming home alive or in body bags. Burke studies her recommendations. You've essentially redesigned our entire training program. I've identified what works and what gets people killed. Here's where the conversation reaches its turning point. Ma'am, would you be willing to implement these changes? For 3 months, Emma has avoided this question. The opportunity to return to military instruction, to train soldiers who depend on her expertise to survive. That depends on whether you're willing to let me teach them what they actually need to know. What they need to know. Emma stands and moves to the window overlooking the training ground. The same soldiers who were laughing at her an hour ago are now practicing the outdated techniques she's been evaluating. How to survive when everything goes wrong. How to make impossible decisions under pressure. How to bring their teammates home alive. But what happens next proves her point. Burke's radio crackles with emergency traffic. Sergeant Burke, we have a training accident. Private Johnson is unconscious. Medics en route. Emma's training kicks in immediately. What's his condition? Unknown. He went down during hand-to-hand combat training. Without waiting for permission, Emma heads for the door. Let's go. They arrive at the training ground to find Private Johnson unconscious, bleeding from a head wound. The other soldiers standing around, unsure how to help. Here's where Emma's experience saves a life. She immediately assesses Johnson's condition, checks his pulse, breathing, pupil response, applies pressure to the head wound, positions him for proper airway management. He has a concussion and possible skull fracture. We need to stabilize his neck and get him to medical immediately. Emma coordinates the medical response with the same calm authority she used in combat zones. Every action precise, every decision potentially life-saving. When the medics arrive, they find Johnson stable and properly treated. Ma'am, where did you learn emergency medical procedures? Combat medic training. You learn to treat trauma when people's lives depend on it. But here's what this incident reveals. Burke watches Emma handle the emergency with professional competence that his regular instructors don't possess. Real-world experience that can't be taught from textbooks. Later that evening, Burke finds Emma in his office reviewing training manuals. Private Johnson is stable. Doctor says your treatment probably prevented permanent brain damage. Emma continues reading. Good to hear, ma'am. I've been thinking about your recommendations. And Burke sits across from her. I want you to implement them. All of them. Here's what Emma has been waiting to hear. You're willing to completely revise your training program? I'm willing to do whatever it takes to send better prepared soldiers into combat. Emma closes the training manual. That means teaching them things that aren't in the official curriculum. What kind of things? How to kill with improvised weapons, how to survive torture, how to make tactical decisions that official policy doesn't cover. Burke considers the implications. That's beyond standard military training. Standard military training gets people killed when they face non-standard situations. But what she proposes next changes everything. Sergeant, I want to establish an advanced preparatory program. Before soldiers go to specialized training, they spend 4 weeks learning what they actually need to survive. What would you teach them? Emma pulls out her complete curriculum proposal. Advanced situational awareness, improvised combat techniques, psychological resilience under extreme stress, decision-making when official protocols don't apply. Burke reviews the proposal. This is essentially special operations preparation for regular infantry. This is survival preparation for anyone who might face combat. Here's where the story reaches its resolution. 6 weeks later, Emma stands before her first class of advanced preparatory students, soldiers selected for upcoming special operations training. My name is Instructor Walsh. For the next 4 weeks, I'm going to teach you how to survive situations that your previous training hasn't prepared you for. A young soldier raises his hand. Ma'am, what's your background? Emma looks at the eager faces. Young soldiers who need the best preparation possible to survive whatever missions await them. I've been where you're going, and I'm going to make sure you come back. For 4 weeks, Emma transforms 20 good soldiers into exceptional survivors. She teaches them tactics that aren't in any manual, skills that can't be officially acknowledged, techniques that save lives when everything else fails. On graduation day, Burke addresses the class. You've been trained by someone who's used these skills in actual combat, someone who understands the difference between textbook tactics and battlefield survival. But here's the real victory. 3 months later, Burke receives deployment reports. Every soldier trained by Emma's program performed exceptionally in their advanced training. Every technique she taught proved valuable in real situations. 0 casualties among program graduates. That evening, Burke finds Emma preparing her next curriculum revision. The reports are in. Your students are outperforming everyone else. Emma continues working. They're surviving. That's what matters. Will you stay permanently? Emma looks up from her plans. As long as there are soldiers who need this training. Remember Emma Walsh the next time you encounter someone whose abilities seem to extend beyond their apparent experience. Someone whose knowledge suggests training they can't officially discuss. Real heroes don't retire from protecting others, they just find new ways to serve. Emma never left the military. She evolved from combat operator to force multiplier, from saving her teammates to preparing thousands of others to save theirs. Here's what you need to understand about hidden protectors. They're everywhere. Testing systems, evaluating programs, making sure the next generation receives training that will keep them alive. They choose anonymity not because they stopped serving, but because they found better ways to serve. New soldiers to prepare, new lives to save, new missions that matter more than recognition. And when someone underestimates them, when training gets complacent, they respond with skills that remind everyone what real preparation looks like. In 3 seconds that change everything.